You are listening to the Berman Method Podcast featuring Dr. Jake Berman and Jenni Berman, physician assistant, where we treat problems, not symptoms.
All right. Here we go. Episode 2, podcast 2 of the Berman Method. Dr. Jake Berman here with my beautiful wife, Jenni Berman. That's her nickname. You guys didn't know that? We call her JBB for short. Jenni, say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody. JBB in the house.
You should see her face right now. It's blushing red. We did not rehearse this before recording this episode. So thank you again for joining us. I hope you listened to the first episode. Hopefully the second episode is better than the first, and we're going to try to keep that going in the right direction as we iron things out and try to get better at this every single week. So what we want to talk about first is recapping what we talked about last time, where how did we come up with the Berman Method? What is the Berman Method? Go ahead and give us a brief summary, Jenni, on what the Berman Method actually is.
The Berman Method is here to help treat problems and not symptoms. We just don't want to make you feel better. We want to figure out what the problem is so we can keep the problem away once we do make you feel better.
Very good. So, said in other words, the Western medical system or the corporate medical system or the medical system that we all know here in America is essentially treating symptoms, not problems. So somebody goes to the doctor for high blood pressure, they get prescribed a medication for high blood pressure to decrease it. However, what we want to do is figure out, why is the blood pressure high to begin with? And that's where Jenni comes in. She would come in and look at what's going on systemically, so what's going on in your blood work and all of that, and say, okay, this is contributing to that, which is causing your blood pressure to elevate. So let's work on this versus taking this medication that lowers your blood pressure, which is just a symptom of the actual problem. So I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, we'll keep talking about some other things as we go through this episode and all the other episodes about how we want to treat problems and not symptoms. How's that sound, Jenni?
That's good. So that plays into your field as well, right?
That's all I do is work on problems. For example, here's one thing that I tell people, and I try to pick and choose who I'm going to say this to when I'm working on them, my clients. When I first start working with somebody, most of the time, their number one concern, or at least what they voice to me, is the pain. Back pain, for example. My back is hurting. And one of the things that I'll tell them sooner or later is, I don't care about your pain. I care about what is causing your pain. And most of the time, 99% of the time, it is not where the pain is. Meaning, my back is hurting. I want you to rub on my back. Can you do some soft tissue massage to my back? And I'll say no, because we've got something going on over here in the hip, or down here in the thigh or the quad, or something going on somewhere else. Your core is not working. So we want to work on that stuff, and the pain will go away. Fix the problem and the pain will go away.
Which is confusing to a lot of people, isn't it? I mean, they just want you to touch where it hurts. And how quickly will the people feel better if you work on something else?
It's always delayed. So when I first started treating, when I first got into the physical therapy world, I was treating symptoms. So somebody would come in with shoulder pain. I'd poke around on the shoulder and rub the part that hurt. They'd say, yeah, it hurts there. And I'd rub it, massage it out. And 20, 30 minutes later, I'd ask them to move it again. And they'd say, oh man, that feels so much better. So it was instant results, kind of like Amazon. Buy something, it shows up on your doorstep 24 hours later or less. However, what I found was the symptoms kept coming back, or they never stayed away. So it wasn't until we got further along into this education of the human body anatomy and pathophysiology that I learned that we got to figure out what was causing that shoulder pain. And now we know majority of shoulder pain is posture related. Yeah, posture, go figure.
Like how I'm sitting right now?
Like how you're sitting right now. We are not in an ergonomically correct position to record this thing right now, but it is what it is. MVP, minimum viable product. We're just getting started right now. So anyways, let's get back to what we originally wanted to talk about today.
So what is it exactly that you specialize in your practice?
Back pain. Back pain is our bread and butter. Back pain is easily 75% of what we treat at Berman Physical Therapy. It is the simplest thing we treat too.
Well, what about the sciatica? Can you treat the sciatica? Do you remember when we first started dating? What are you laughing at? I haven't even started talking yet.
Because I know what you're going to say.
When we first started dating, and Jake here, Dr. Berman, always wanted to go on these road trips, whether it was to go deer hunting or to go just drive in the woods or whatever. And I couldn't go. And it wasn't that I didn't like you. I think I liked you at that point, but I couldn't sit in the car because my leg would just start burning. I mean, it was like fire. So then one time I actually did go with him, and I'm like moving all around in my seat, back and forth. And he's like, "What is wrong with you?" And I had to tell him that my leg hurt. My leg was burning. So then we get where we're going. He's like, "Let me fix it." And he starts messing with my hips. And I'm like, "It's not my hips. It's my butt, my leg, the sciatica."
You had a bad case of the sciatica. It was like you had ants in your pants the whole way. You couldn't stand still or sit still in the truck for longer than 5 minutes.
It hurts. So then what happened?
Super duper long story short, I had to figure out what was going on. Jenni's always been very active, level 9 gymnast, working out her whole entire life. And she had battled some injuries through her career and never fully recovered from those injuries. So when we first started dating, it's kind of like an onion, where I'm looking at this thing as an onion going, okay, we've got a lot of things that need to be fixed physically, right? So we're just talking about straight up rehab physically, nothing, psychologically, or because you're a perfect spouse, perfect.
Yeah.
But I'm just looking at it as a human body and functionally. But anyways, so long story short, had to fix some glute weakness, specifically some hip external rotators were not doing their job. And that was what was leading to the flare up or the aggravation of the sciatica. The sciatic nerve was kicking your ass.
So my weak butt was causing all my pain.
The most common diagnosis we have in Berman Physical Therapy is WAS, W-A-S, weak ass syndrome. And that's what you had, JBB.
So anyways, after all that and focusing on strengthening my booty, my sciatica actually got better. So what about people with bulging disc or degenerative disc disease? Can you fix that?
Bulging disc, degenerative disc, spondylosis, spondylitis, or spondylolisthesis, herniated disc, all those things are symptoms of another problem somewhere else. So,
but the jelly squoze out of my back, out of the donut. How can you put the jelly back in?
Oh my gosh, we're gonna open up a can of worms here.
All right, not today.
Let's not open up that can. But I will say this: that less than 5%, usually less than 1% of what I've found over the years of these problems, herniated discs, bad backs, whatever you want to call it, are congenital, or quote unquote, my mom had a bad back, so I have to have a bad back. The other 95%, 99% are because you did something inefficiently for a very long period of time, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, which eventually broke that back down. And that's why it's happening. And the number one cause of back pain that I'm finding over the years is weak glutes. What causes weak glutes?
Wait, what's a glute?
Your butt, your hiney, your rump, the thing that you're sitting on, that's your glute. The biggest, strongest muscle in your body, or at least it should be the strongest muscle in your body, is the number one cause of back pain because it ain't strong enough.
Well, why is it weak?
Because of what we're doing right now.
I run all the time. Why is my butt weak?
Because we're sitting. Sitting is the number one cause of glute weakness.
But I run all the time.
Do you run more than you sit?
No, I guess I don't.
Think about it. We're sitting on average 12 to 15 hours a day. We wake up, we get ready, we work out, and then we sit to eat breakfast. Then we walk out to the car and we sit in the car to drive to work. We get to work and then we sit at work. And then we get up to go to lunch and then we sit down and eat lunch. Then we go back to work and sit at work for the rest of the day. Then we get out, go to the car, sit in the car to drive home.
So can I strengthen my butt just by standing when I work or walking when I work?
Yeah, of course you can.
Oh, okay. That easy.
It's not that easy. It is that simple. And this is going to be a big thing that we're going to get into great detail over the podcast that we do here is the vast majority of things that we treat are very, very simple in nature, but they are not easy by any means. So we'll get into more detail with that. How's that sound?
That sounds good. So is there something you have, like a book or something that people can maybe learn a little bit more about your practice and what you do specifically? Oh, and why you're always barefoot? I don't know if you guys know, but all of the employees, including Jake, but everybody else in the office doesn't wear shoes.
Okay.
So you have to learn why.
So what Jenni's hinting out about here is my book that I wrote. It's called Treating Problems, Not Symptoms. It's available on Amazon. You can go search on Amazon, Dr. Jake Berman, Treating Problems, Not Symptoms, and it'll give you a very detailed rundown on pretty much every pain that you have in the body as far as neck pain, back pain, hip pain, knee pain, foot pain, and makes it as clear as possible, as simple as possible of what's causing it. And then we'll spend a whole episode one day on why everybody is barefoot in my office.
This will be linked in the show notes as well. So you can simply just click on the link to order the book also if you are interested.
Okay, cool. You ready to switch gears a little bit?
Sure.
All right, let's switch over to you. So we want to give people a much clearer idea or picture of exactly what it is that you do. What is it that you specialize in? I know it's 3 things. Let's make it as simple as possible. What are those 3 things?
So the 3 primary things, of course, not all, primary things that I see in the office are people looking for weight loss, gut health, or if they have hormone imbalances. So as far as weight loss goes, most of the time, this is going to be related to an underlying blood sugar instability, meaning, or insulin resistance. You might have heard of that word before. But basically what this means is the blood sugar is unstable throughout the day. It goes up and down, and that actually decreases the efficiency of the metabolism in being able to metabolize food. So we focus a lot on the macronutrients, not calories, but actually protein, carbs, and fats in the diet to help balance these in order to help individuals to lose weight. Second thing being the gut health. I mean, I could talk a whole different podcast with hundreds of episodes on gut health because this really causes so many of the symptoms we're feeling: hypothyroidism, inflammation, allergies, sinus allergies, sniffles, migraines, the list could go on, and it's all coming from the food that we're eating. And we have to identify what you're actually sensitive to, not allergic, but sensitive to, which is causing what we call leaky gut syndrome or gut permeability, which then leads to all this systemic internal inflammation.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second?
I guess.
Because I'm going to do it anyways, right?
Right.
So can you just give a little more clarity on the difference between being allergic to something and being sensitive to something? Because I know that is a very touchy issue where, especially with some of my clients, being with you so long, it's easier for me to recognize these gut issues in some of my clients where I'll be working on them on the table for some physical problems, but I can see coloration, discoloration in their face or what's going on in their abdomen area. And I can tell, I just know that they've got some type of food sensitivity, and I'll bring it up. And everybody's first reaction is, I'm not allergic to anything. I don't feel bad when I eat XYZ, but
It's true. I hear that all the time too. I don't have any allergies. So to be a little bit more in depth, which again, we'll talk about this more later, but sensitivities is an IgG, immunoglobulin G, versus an allergy is an IgE or immunoglobulin E. They are different in the way we test for them. So people may not react to an IgE, which is an allergy, but they react to IgG. Sensitivities can actually have the same types of symptoms as allergies. So a sensitivity to something can cause a skin rash or hives, which can also happen with an IgE. One difference is a sensitivity may not cause anaphylaxis, which is what people often relate allergies to, is their throat closing up or their mouth swelling or their tongue swelling. But you can have these sensitivities that are causing internal inflammation that you and I can see because we're used to it and we've done a lot of research on it, but it may not cause direct reactions. So I may not eat something and immediately have a stomach ache, but it is causing longer term inflammation with, the joint pain or the swelling or migraines, those sorts of things. Does that help?
yeah, it does help. I know she said a lot of big words and initials or abbreviations and all that stuff. Just to make it as simple as possible, let's use a very brief example. For example, I can't tell you how many people I've heard come to you for one problem, and you end up saying or finding out that dairy is their biggest inflammatory thing, the biggest thing that shows up on their food sensitivity. And this is somebody that eats a ton of dairy all day long for their whole entire life and never has noticed any issues with it. Within 4 to 6 weeks of getting rid of the dairy, one of the most common things that I've heard people tell you is, I can't believe how good I feel now. I didn't realize how bad I was feeling then. That's the crazy thing, is because this is happening so slowly, so gradually over such a long time, we get habitualized or we get used to feeling a certain way and we think it's normal. It's the same thing as you throw a frog into a pot of boiling water, the frog's going to jump right out because it's too drastic of a change. But if you put that frog in a pot of just room temperature water, and then you very slowly increase the temperature of it, it will ultimately boil to death because it doesn't realize the gradual changes over a longer period of time. This is the same thing that happens to all of us.
Yeah, it's very true. People don't realize the cascade of symptoms that they're having just because they deal with it on a daily basis. Or something else that I hear all the time is, oh, well, I'm allergic to the pollen or the oak trees, and I have 10 oak trees in my yard. So my allergies are flared pretty much all the time. And then we do some gut healing and some food elimination by identifying their sensitivities, and their allergies go away, but they still have the oak trees in their yard. So, we tend to blame things on other things other than our food, when really that could be the main culprit of whatever symptom you're having. So, again, we could talk about the gut for hours and hours, and especially me, because I could just go on and on. But the third thing I see a lot of too is the hormone imbalances. So postpartum, postmenopause, high testosterone levels, or, having an imbalance with the progesterone and estrogen and how that affects the metabolism as well. Long story short, we do a lot.
We do a lot. But again, it's really simple once we figure out what is going on. The number one thing that we have to do with anybody and everybody is figure out what the freaking problem is. What is the root problem? Because you're going to come in with XYZ symptoms, and that's going to take the majority of your attention. And it's our job to look past those symptoms and figure out objectively, what is the root cause of this thing? What is going on here? Luckily, over the past, I guess it's really been the past 5 years, but really the past 10 years, it's getting more and more popular for people to say no. When somebody goes to the doctor for X symptom and the doctor wants to prescribe it. Let's use surgery, for example. I can't tell you how much more frequently I'm hearing people go to the orthopedic surgeon for knee pain and they're diagnosed via MRI with a meniscus tear, and then the orthopedic surgeon immediately says, all right, let's do surgery. And now people are starting to say no. They're saying, is there anything else that we can do? Is there anything else we can try first? Versus 10 years ago, whatever that surgeon said was the almighty. It's like, okay, surgeon said, let's have surgery, so I'm going to do it. However, people are getting smarter. People are starting to realize that there's other options. It's not always surgery. It's not always medication. So that's really great. Let's get back to the 3 things that you do. It's weight loss, gut health, and hormone imbalances. You also have cookbooks. Tell me about those cookbooks that you have, those delicious meals. There's a whole page on this with all sorts of pictures and everything, mouth-watering pictures, but tell us more.
Well, I initially started designing recipes for myself because I have to eat gluten-free and dairy-free, and 5 years ago was really challenging to find recipes like that offered both. So I started, getting some ideas from recipes online and altering them. And I think we had a fair amount of really bad meals when I first started this process. Bad meals, bad baking, but...
Hold on a second. Let me give them a little clearer picture. We just got married. We just moved from Jacksonville to Naples. I just opened up my practice, so there's so many changes. And then on top of all of that, we have to go gluten-free. This is before you went dairy-free.
Oh, and I'm studying for my boards.
And you're studying for your boards. So there's so many things going on in a very short amount of time.
Like 2 weeks.
And then all of a sudden, we're trying to eat gluten-free. And this is only 2015 when this is going on. Gluten-free was not easy back then. You couldn't just go to Publix and get a bunch of gluten-free options. You had to be really creative because the very limited options they had just 6 years ago were not great. So it was always an adventure for me to get to the dinner table. Go on.
I ended up figuring it out. So I started making all these new recipes and altering ones that I got ideas from to make them gluten-free. And then it was about a year later that I realized through trial and error and testing that I needed to remove dairy from my diet as well. So I started then doing gluten-free and dairy-free. Well, finally, I said, there's somebody else out there that needs help. So I started writing all these recipes down. Every time I'd make one that was good, I would write it down. Now they're great. So anyways, long story to say, I have...
Hold on. You are welcome. Everybody listening to this who gets this cookbook, you are welcome because I was the guinea pig. I was the one that had to, I don't want to say suffer, because it wasn't that bad. It was me, though, that was the guinea pig. So everybody that buys this cookbook, or 3 cookbooks at this moment, you are welcome because they have been tried, tested.
What about now? Can we talk about how they are now?
That's what I was getting to.
Okay.
They've been tried, tested, and proven, and now I can honestly say there's not a single thing in any of those 3 cookbooks that I am not super duper excited to get home and eat. I'm telling everybody the truth right now. Every time I sit down at the dinner table, I am excited. There's not
Well, sometimes you act scared. But then what?
Well, it's not that I act scared. Last night or 2 nights ago is a good example. It's just that there might be a little PTSD where, 5 years ago, the same meal, it was not as much fun. But to be completely honest, it was very fun 2 nights ago. So it happens occasionally where a little PTSD kicks in. But I'm telling everybody the truth right now. There's not a single thing this woman cooks or bakes where I say, I don't know about that, babe. So she's got it dialed in now.
We figured it out. So anyways, there's 3 cookbooks that have all gluten-free and dairy-free recipes on them. Some are crockpot meals, Instant Pot meals. All of them, I'm telling you, all of them are designed to be made in under 30 minutes, prepped and made in under 30 minutes, because who has time to stand in the kitchen? And some people say it hurts to stand in the kitchen, which by the time you're done with us, it won't hurt anymore. So all these cookbooks are available on Amazon. This will also be linked in the show notes as well.
Okay, very cool. So what else? Do we have anything else we need to cover today?
I think that's it for today. We'll be back next week, though, so don't miss us too much.
What are we talking about next week? Chapter 1. This is so funny because I just got done asking Jenni 2 or 3 times over the past 48 hours what our schedule was. And she goes, I sent you the printout, or I sent you the Excel spreadsheet. You should know what it is. And now I just asked her live on the podcast and she has no idea.
Because that's next week. I'm focused on this week.
So next week, what we're going to do is we're going to touch base or dive in a little deeper to the first chapter of my book. The first chapter of my book is what completely changed everything for both of us. So I hope you're excited. Hope you're looking forward to it. We are definitely looking forward to it. Again, bear with us as we go through this process. Hopefully the audio improves. I don't know if the audio's 100% yet. I don't know if you guys are enjoying this as much yet, but we will get better at it. So stick with us. We are going in the right direction, right?
That's right. Subscribe, email us, chat with us. We like it all.
All right, cool. Until then, everybody have a great day.
For more information, view the show notes where you can email us, visit our